Close your eyes for a moment and picture a sunlit southern kitchen. The smell of biscuits fresh from the oven mingles with the rich aroma of simmering gravy. Some of these recipes have quietly slipped into obscurity, disappearing from our tables and fading from memory. Today, we'll take a culinary journey to rediscover 25 traditional Southern recipes that have disappeared, each with its own rich history and story to tell. Chess pie. Chess pie was once the crown jewel of Southern desserts. With its simple ingredients, eggs, butter, sugar, and a touch of cornmeal, it represented the ingenuity of Southern cooks. Legend has it that the name comes from a wife telling her husband, "It's just pie," in her drawling Southern accent, which sounded like chess pie. Imagine a golden brown slice, its surface slightly cracked and caramelized, with a filling so silky it practically melts on your tongue. This pie was a fixture at family reunions, where its rich sweetness paired perfectly with a strong cup of coffee or a cold glass of milk. But over time, this humble dessert was overshadowed by more elaborate cakes and pastries, and the beloved chess pie became a relic of the past. If you've never tasted one, imagine the warmth of nostalgia in every bite, the flavor of a simpler time that deserves a second chance. Tomato aspic. Ah, the misunderstood tomato aspic. This savory gelatin mold made with tomato juice, vinegar, and spices was once a must-have at Southern luncheons. Often adorned with a dollop of mayonnaise and a sprig of parsley, it was as much a conversation starter as it was a dish. While its wobbly texture might seem strange to modern palates, back in the day, tomato aspic was a symbol of sophistication. Picture a table set with the finest china and silverware, the aspic glistening in the center like a ruby-red crown. Homemakers prided themselves on perfecting the dish, tweaking the balance of flavors until it was just right. Unfortunately, it's now rarely seen, relegated to the pages of old community cookbooks. But perhaps there's room for this retro dish in a modern setting, a culinary conversation starter that bridges the gap between past and present. Fried green tomatoes. Fried green tomatoes were once a quintessential Southern dish, served as a snack, appetizer, or side. Thick slices of unripe green tomatoes were coated in cornmeal and fried until golden brown, creating a crispy, tangy treat. Picture a plate of hot fried green tomatoes, their edges crisp and their centers warm and juicy. They were often served with a side of creamy dipping sauce, adding another layer of indulgence. While they've seen a minor revival thanks to the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, this dish is still not as common as it once was. In the past, fried green tomatoes were a staple at family gatherings and community potlucks, where the unmistakable aroma of sizzling cornmeal would fill the air. The dish's simplicity and reliance on fresh local produce made it a symbol of Southern resourcefulness and charm. Served hot from the pan, they carried a sense of nostalgia and togetherness. Today, you might spot fried green tomatoes on a few trendy menus or in upscale interpretations, but their roots lie in the heart of Southern kitchens. They remind us of a time when meals were made from scratch, shared around the table, and enriched by tradition. Hoe Cakes. Hoe Cakes, the ultimate survival food, were born out of necessity. Made from cornmeal, water, and a pinch of salt, they were cooked on the flat surface of a hoe over an open fire. These crispy-edged delights were a staple for field workers and families alike, often served with butter or honey. The beauty of hoe cakes lies in their simplicity. Close your eyes and imagine the satisfying crunch as you bite into one, followed by the comforting, slightly sweet taste of cornmeal. They were as versatile as they were beloved, serving as a base for savory stews or a companion to sweet syrups. As cornbread recipes evolved and diversified, the simple hoe cake faded into obscurity. But its legacy lives on, a testament to the resourcefulness of Southern cooks who made magic with the simplest ingredients. Hoppin John. This black-eyed pea and rice dish, traditionally eaten on New Year's Day for good luck, was once a Southern household staple. Hoppin John was more than just a meal. It was a promise of prosperity and hope for the year ahead. Each ingredient had meaning. The peas symbolized coins, the rice represented abundance, and a side of greens signified folded money. Picture a steaming pot of Hoppin John, the smoky aroma of ham hock wafting through the air. Families would gather around the table, sharing stories and laughter as they enjoyed the hearty, comforting dish. Over time, convenience foods replaced the slow-cooked simplicity of dishes like Hoppin John. The vibrant flavors of smoked ham hock and earthy peas are now just a memory for many, waiting to be rediscovered. Beaten biscuits. Unlike the fluffy biscuits we know today, beaten biscuits were dense and chewy, made by literally beating the dough for up to an hour. This arduous process aerated the dough, creating biscuits with a unique texture and flavor. They were often served with country ham or homemade preserves, a combination that balanced the biscuit's savory richness with a touch of sweetness. Imagine the rhythmic sound of a cook's wooden mallet striking the dough, a labor of love that transformed simple ingredients into something extraordinary. But as kitchen gadgets evolved, the labor-intensive nature of beaten biscuits led to their decline, replaced by quicker and easier alternatives. Still, the memory of their satisfying chew and distinct flavor lingers in the hearts of those who grew up with them. Hog Head Cheese. Hog Head Cheese is a traditional southern delicacy rooted in resourcefulness and flavor. This gelatinous terrine was crafted from boiling a hog's head to extract tender meat and natural gelatin. Seasoned with a mix of onions, garlic, vinegar, and spices, it's then cooled to form a savory loaf. Once a staple in southern households, hog head cheese was served cold, often sliced for crackers or sandwiches. This dish was a prime example of waste not, want not, utilizing every part of the hog. Over time, it fell out of favor as processed foods became the norm. Today, it's considered a nostalgic relic of rural southern cuisine. While some specialty markets still offer it, it's a rarity in most kitchens. Hog head cheese represents a bygone era of traditional cooking that prioritized thrift and flavor. Rediscovering this dish brings a taste of southern heritage to modern tables. Pickled pig's feet. Pickled pig's feet were once a southern delicacy, treasured for their tangy, gelatinous texture and bold flavor. This dish, born from resourceful cooking, turned every part of the hog into something special. The feet were simmered until tender, then brined in a vinegar-based mixture with spices like cloves and red pepper. Often served chilled, they were a staple in households and a common sight in old-fashioned southern diners. While it might sound unusual to modern palates, pickled pig's feet were a true testament to the art of preserving food and making the most of every ingredient. Sadly, as culinary trends shifted, this humble dish began to fade from tables. Yet, for those who grew up with it, the tangy crunch brings back warm memories of family meals and simpler times. Lunn bread. This sweet, buttery bread was a beloved staple in southern households, cherished for its delicate flavor and versatility. With a texture somewhere between a cake and a bread, Lunn was often served warm with a generous spread of butter, making it a comforting addition to any meal. Its golden crust and tender crumb paired perfectly with hearty soups, rich stews, or even as a base for savory sandwiches. Originating in 18th century England, Lunn bread quickly gained popularity in the South, becoming a symbol of warm hospitality and home-cooked goodness. Picture a freshly baked loaf cooling on a windowsill, its heavenly aroma filling the house and drawing family members to the kitchen in anticipation. Despite its rich history and once revered status, this delightful bread has become a rare treasure, with its recipe often tucked away in dusty family cookbooks, waiting to be rediscovered. Pear Preserves. Pear preserves were a labor of love, requiring hours of slow cooking to achieve the perfect balance of sweetness and texture. They were a common sight on breakfast tables, served alongside biscuits or toast. The golden, translucent preserves, dotted with tender pear slices, were as beautiful as they were delicious. Families often gathered around the kitchen, peeling and slicing pears while sharing stories and laughter, turning the process into a cherished ritual. The scent of simmering pears, mingling with sugar and spices, filled homes with a warmth that signaled comfort and care. As the pace of life quickened, the art of making preserves dwindled. Store-bought jams and jellies replaced homemade versions, leaving pear preserves as a wistful memory for many. But those who remember the taste speak of it with a reverence that hints at the magic of tradition. Reviving this lost art feels like opening a time capsule, offering a taste of history that reconnects us to the simpler, slower days when food was made with love and patience. Ambrosia Salad. Ambrosia Salad, a dessert made with oranges, coconut, and sometimes pineapple or marshmallows, was once a holiday favorite in the South. Its name, meaning food of the gods, hinted at its once iconic status, evoking memories of special occasions and family gatherings. Picture a crystal bowl filled with the vibrant colors of the fruit and the creamy whiteness of the dressing, gracing the table at Thanksgiving or Christmas, a centerpiece of Southern hospitality. The rich, sweet, and slightly tangy flavors symbolized indulgence and celebration. However, changing tastes and a shift toward fresher, less sugary desserts led to Ambrosia's decline. Today, it's mostly remembered by older generations who still recall its sweet, tropical flavor and the warmth of shared holiday moments. Liver pudding. Liver pudding, a savory spread made from pork liver and cornmeal, once held a cherished spot on breakfast tables across the South. Often served alongside eggs or creamy grits, it was a hearty and economical start to the day, deeply rooted in the region's culinary traditions. The rich, earthy flavors and smooth, creamy texture made it a comfort food that evoked the essence of Southern home cooking. However, as dietary preferences shifted and younger generations moved away from consuming organ meats, liver pudding began to disappear from modern menus. Its decline symbolizes a broader trend of forgotten heritage recipes, where the art of utilizing every part of the animal has faded. For those who grew up with it, the dish carries a nostalgic charm, conjuring memories of family kitchens and simpler times. Today, liver pudding exists as a relic of Southern culinary history, a flavorful reminder of the resourcefulness and traditions of the past. Potlikker Soup. Potlikker, the nutrient-rich broth left behind after cooking greens like collards or turnips, was once considered liquid gold. It was often sopped up with cornbread or turned into a comforting soup. This simple, nourishing dish was a way to stretch ingredients and ensure nothing went to waste. Imagine a bowl of Potlikker soup, the steam rising to reveal its savory aroma, and a hunk of cornbread ready to soak up every last drop. As greens became less of a dietary staple, Potlikker soup faded from the culinary landscape. But its history remains a testament to Southern frugality and creativity. It represents a time when resourcefulness in the kitchen was not just practical, but also deeply tied to tradition. Families gathered around tables to share this humble dish, creating memories that lingered long after the last spoonful. The disappearance of Potlikker from modern menus is a reminder of how food trends evolve, leaving behind culinary treasures that once defined a way of life. Today, chefs and food historians are revisiting these forgotten recipes, hoping to preserve their stories for future generations. Potlikker is more than just a broth. It's a symbol of resilience, community, and the rich heritage of Southern cooking. Corn Pone. Corn pone was a staple dish born from the ingenuity of early Southern cooks. Made from cornmeal, water, and a touch of salt, this no-frills bread was baked into small, firm cakes with a slightly crispy exterior and a tender, warm interior. Often cooked over open flames or on a hearthstone, corn pone embodied the spirit of resourcefulness. Imagine breaking into a hot piece of corn pone, the slight crunch giving way to a soft, comforting center. It was a versatile food, often paired with stews or used to sop up gravies. Over time, cornbread evolved into fluffier, sweeter versions, leaving the humble corn pone to fade into obscurity. Despite its simplicity, corn pone carried a sense of nostalgia and tradition, linking generations through its earthy flavor and straightforward preparation. It was a dish that brought families together around rustic kitchen tables, served as a dependable side in tough times, and held a special place in Southern culture. Today, while cornbread continues to grace many tables, corn pone serves as a reminder of the creative resilience of early cooks and a culinary artifact of a bygone era. In some corners of the South, it occasionally makes an appearance during historical festivals or as a nod to old family recipes, but its prominence has undeniably waned. Cracklin Bread. Cracklin Bread, a cornbread variation infused with crispy pork cracklings, was a crowd pleaser in rural Southern kitchens. The salty, savory crunch of the cracklings added a unique texture and flavor to the otherwise humble bread. Close your eyes and picture a cast-iron skillet filled with golden brown cornbread, dotted with crispy bits of pork. The scent of rendered fat mingling with the sweet aroma of cornmeal was enough to make any mouth water. Often served alongside hearty stews or collard greens, it was a comfort food that represented the resourcefulness of Southern cooks who wasted nothing. Families would gather around the table, sharing laughter and stories as they enjoyed this iconic dish. Over time, as dietary preferences shifted away from heavy, fatty foods, cracklin bread slowly disappeared from family tables. Its decline also mirrored the diminishing use of cast-iron cooking and the rise of more convenient modern recipes. However, for those who remember its rich, nostalgic flavor, cracklin bread remains a cherished symbol of the Old South, a taste of a bygone era that still lingers in memory. Butter beans. Butter beans, or large creamy lima beans, were a Southern comfort food enjoyed as a side dish or main course. Simmered with ham hocks, onions, and spices, they offered a rich, hearty flavor that warmed both the stomach and the soul. Picture a bowl of tender butter beans, their pale green color contrasting with the smoky bits of ham. The dish was simple but deeply satisfying, often served with cornbread or rice. Families gathered around the table to enjoy this wholesome dish, sharing stories and laughter with every bite. The slow cooking process allowed the flavors to meld beautifully, creating a meal that felt like a warm embrace. However, as fast food and modern conveniences took over, butter beans lost their spot in everyday meals, becoming a nostalgic memory for many. The tradition of preparing them, once passed down through generations, began to fade. Today, butter beans are a rare treat, cherished by those who remember their comforting presence on Southern tables. Recreating this dish brings a taste of history and a reminder of the joy found in simple, home-cooked meals. Red-eye gravy. Red-eye gravy, made from coffee and ham drippings, was a classic Southern sauce served over biscuits or grits. Its unique name came from the red-eye appearance created by the fat separating from the coffee. Imagine the bold, savory flavor of red-eye gravy soaking into a warm biscuit, its smoky aroma waking up the senses. Once a breakfast staple, it has become less common as traditional Southern breakfasts have been replaced by quicker options. This humble but flavorful sauce reflected the resourcefulness of Southern cooking, turning simple ingredients into a rich and memorable dish. Its roots trace back to farmers and workers who needed hearty meals to fuel their days. Despite its fading presence in modern kitchens, red-eye gravy remains a nostalgic reminder of slower, simpler times in Southern homes. Today, those who still prepare it honor a cherished piece of culinary heritage that deserves a comeback. Butter roll dessert. Butter roll dessert, a baked dish made with rolled dough, butter, sugar, and milk, was a simple but decadent treat. The rolls baked in a sweet, creamy sauce, creating a rich and gooey dessert. Picture a pan of golden butter rolls, their tops slightly crispy, and their centers oozing with sweet sauce. The smell alone was enough to draw everyone to the table. As baking trends shifted, this dessert was left behind, though its memory lingers in old family recipe collections. Chicken bog. Chicken bog, a dish originating in South Carolina's Low Country, combined rice, chicken, and sausage into a flavorful and filling meal. Cooked in a single pot, it was seasoned with onions, spices, and sometimes butter, resulting in a rich, comforting dish. Imagine a steaming bowl of chicken bog, each spoonful bursting with the smoky flavor of sausage and the tender texture of slow-cooked chicken. It was a communal meal, often served at family reunions or church events, bringing people together over its hearty simplicity. This dish represented the ingenuity of Southern cooks, stretching simple ingredients into something extraordinary. Despite its appeal, changing dietary trends and the decline of rice-based dishes in modern kitchens contributed to its decline. Chicken bog was once a staple of the Low Country table, a reflection of its heritage and community spirit. While it still appears occasionally at festivals or nostalgic gatherings, the younger generation rarely gets to savor its rich history. Today, it survives as a symbol of tradition, a dish that tells the story of a region and its culinary roots. Sweet potato biscuits. Sweet potato biscuits added a twist to the classic Southern biscuit by incorporating mashed sweet potatoes into the dough. The result was a soft, subtly sweet bread that paired perfectly with honey butter or country ham. Picture the warm, orange hue of a fresh sweet potato biscuit, its delicate sweetness enhanced by a pat of melted butter. These biscuits, once a breakfast favorite, were a staple on Southern tables, often served alongside hearty meals or as a standalone treat. The earthy flavor of sweet potatoes added depth to the traditional biscuit, making it a beloved comfort food. Families would gather around the table, savoring their unique taste and reminiscing about cherished recipes passed down through generations. However, as modern lifestyles demanded quicker, store-bought options, the labor-intensive preparation of sweet potato biscuits fell out of favor. With their disappearance, a small but meaningful piece of Southern culinary heritage was lost, leaving a void in both breakfasts and family traditions. Lady Baltimore cake. Lady Baltimore cake, a towering white cake layered with a mixture of dried fruits and nuts, was a show-stopping dessert at Southern weddings and special occasions. Its fluffy texture and light meringue frosting made it a luxurious treat. Imagine slicing into a Lady Baltimore cake, its layers revealing a delicate filling of figs, raisins, and pecans. The sweetness of the cake was perfectly balanced by the slightly tart fruit filling. Over time, the labor-intensive nature of this dessert led to its decline, replaced by simpler, more modern cakes. This iconic cake was once a symbol of Southern hospitality and elegance, often served with sweet tea at family gatherings or alongside other decadent desserts. The meringue frosting, whipped to perfection, added a soft, cloud-like finish, making each bite feel indulgent. Recipes for the Lady Baltimore cake were passed down through generations, with each family adding its unique touch, be it a splash of sherry or a hint of citrus zest. Sadly, as lifestyles grew busier and baking shortcuts became the norm, the intricate steps required to create this masterpiece fell out of favor. Today, finding a Lady Baltimore cake is a rare delight, reserved for those dedicated to preserving culinary history. Its disappearance serves as a poignant reminder of the changing food culture in the South. Rice pudding. Rice pudding was a dessert born from simplicity, combining cooked rice, milk, sugar, and spices like cinnamon and nutmeg. Often served warm, it was a comforting way to end a meal, especially during colder months. Picture a creamy bowl of rice pudding, the scent of cinnamon wafting through the air. Raisins or a dollop of whipped cream might be added for extra indulgence. Over time, fancier desserts eclipsed this humble dish, pushing it to the margins of Southern cuisine. However, for many families it held sentimental value, evoking memories of childhood kitchens and the nurturing care of a loved one stirring the pot with patience. Its simplicity was its strength, a reminder that the best recipes didn't require extravagance, just heart. Modern adaptations have brought rice pudding back to some tables, but its old-fashioned charm and connection to Southern tradition remain cherished by those who still prepare it. Its disappearance from the mainstream only makes it more of a hidden treasure in the landscape of traditional Southern recipes. Molasses cookies. Molasses cookies were a sweet treat with a deep, rich flavor that came from dark molasses. Spiced with cinnamon, ginger, and cloves, these chewy cookies were a favorite during holidays and family gatherings. Imagine biting into a soft molasses cookie, its spicy aroma filling your senses. Paired with a glass of cold milk, they were the perfect comfort food. While still loved by some, these cookies are less common in modern Southern households. Brunswick stew. Brunswick stew, a thick, hearty dish made with meat, often chicken or pork, tomatoes, lima beans, and corn, was a staple of Southern gatherings. Its origins are hotly debated between Virginia and Georgia, but its place in Southern cuisine is undeniable. Picture a steaming bowl of Brunswick stew, the flavors of the tender meat and vegetables blending into a comforting harmony. Served with cornbread, it was a meal that brought people together, fostering connections over shared tradition and flavor. As quick meals and convenience foods gained popularity, the time-intensive preparation of Brunswick stew made it less common. The slow simmering required to achieve its signature depth of flavor became a luxury fewer families could afford. Today, while some restaurants and home chefs keep it alive, Brunswick stew has largely faded from the everyday Southern table, a reminder of a time when cooking was an art steeped in patience and care. And there you have it, 25 traditional Southern recipes that time almost forgot. Each dish is a flavorful reminder of the golden age of Southern cooking, filled with the flavors and traditions that bring memories of yesteryear back to life. Like flipping through an old photo album, these recipes help us rediscover the warmth and comfort of a simpler time. If you enjoyed this journey, give us a thumbs up, share it with fellow food lovers, and don't forget to subscribe for more delicious stories and culinary treasures.